we are very fortunate now to welcome to XEP the executive producer for Obsidian Entertainment's Grounded 2, Marcus Morgan, as well as the game's director, Chris Park. Gentlemen, how are you?
Great.
Doing
We're
good.
doing wonderful.
Yeah.
Maybe a little tired as we're getting close to our launch, but it's like an excited tired, like a fulfilled tired.
I can only imagine. I mean, I appreciate you taking the time to be here, but two, Grounded 2 was announced it's a very quick turnaround. You were announced roughly a month ago at the time of our recording, and you're about to launch into game preview. How exciting and nerve-wracking is that?
It is exciting and nerve-wracking. We always say like there's like an anxious excitement that we have when you're kind of like releasing a game and bringing it to the world. But I'll say in terms of the timeline, that was always kind of in the vision of having this like immediately surprise and then immediately like deliver kind of experience. It's just one, we were shocked we could keep the surprise, right? Like it's so rare that a game announcement can be a surprise, and we were like crossing our fingers and our toes to hope that like that just happened. But more importantly, like we just were excited to be like to not have too long of a campaign to have to go through, and just be like, let's announce the game and then let's give it to people and let them play. And I think we're really excited that we pulled it off. Like we did it. Like it worked. The plan worked.
I think it's great. It's a storm of our own creation, but it's just awesome. And yeah, I mean, for us, the whole like game preview early access period like is already a really long like PR adventure anyways. So you know what, like, why bother with a lead up? Like we're just like, let's just get out there, announce the game, and get it into early access as soon as possible.
It was such a cool thing. I had the privilege of being with the Xbox Community Fan Fest, the one that was put on by the community. And in that room, when Grounded 2 came up on the screen, the cheers, not only from my co-host Logan, who stood up and he was thrilled, but everybody else just getting so excited. It was really cool. It feels like the reception's been very positive.
Yeah, it's been actually, I mean, overwhelming and shocking. Almost sometimes where we don't like really fully believe it, like we're waiting for a shoe to drop on like when that doesn't happen. But it meant a lot to finally let that out, like let people see what was happening, and more so that people were stoked and getting out of their chairs to cheer. You can't ask for more, right? Like, what else can you ask for?
Big time. Well, Grounded 1, let's go back for a moment, because that was an extremely successful release. I mean, something like 20 million players, eventually went multi-platform. That was about a year ago. And now we're on the eve of the game preview launch for Grounded 2. Let me ask you this. What makes Grounded 2 different and unique from the first Grounded experience?
Man, that's a big question. But I think there's a lot of little things and then a couple of really, really big ones. So with Grounded 1, we had a story to tell. Like it was a story. It had a beginning, it had a middle, it had an end. It was about the teens. They get shrunk. They by this corporation Ominant. They get left in the backyard to survive. And their ultimate goal, while sort of revealing all of these story elements, is to ultimately embiggen themselves and go back home. And there was enough there that as we were finishing Grounded 1, we felt like Grounded 2 was a story that we wanted to make, and that there was enough there that it really made more sense for us to make a sequel than to try to continue to work on say Grounded 1 and add more stuff in there. And so there, like, again, there's so many sort of little things that we've done in terms of like improving combat, and the graphics are better, and there's more insects, the yard is bigger, but there's an entire new story, and what we're giving you with game preview is almost the entire act 1 of that story. It's sort of a bare bones version of it, but it introduces all the main players in the story. While most of the main players in the story, it tells a story, has a beginning, a middle, and end, so that when people play this, they should feel like they got a full experience out of it, even though there's so much more that we intend to add and will be adding with the community moving forward. And
the biggest thing was, like, I mean, to build on what Chris is getting through, I'm gonna jump on of like, we had this laundry list of community. Grounded 1 went through early access, was really community driven, and we still had a laundry list of things that people wanted. And at the very, very top of that list, in terms of distinctions from Grounded 1 to Grounded 2, were mounts, aka buggies. And that's really, really important and a really big distinguishing factor for the two games. One, they exist. You can ride them, you can fight with them, you can explore the world with them, you can build with some of them. But it also really informed what we were going to do with the new world, right? Because we added bounce, because we added buggies. The reason we didn't have them in the first game was because the area wasn't built for it. The world wasn't built to contain kind of these creatures, and so we needed to move to a bigger space, the park. So we went from a backyard to a park, much larger space, area that's actually designed with mounts in mind. But it's not just about like traversal for us. It's also about integrating that into the entire survival experience. And so your buggies, if you have, there's two different buggies that exist in Grounded 2, just for early access and game preview launch. It'll be the Red Soldier Ant and then the Orb Weaver buggy. And the Red Soldier Ant, that's your like utility buggy. It like is great at going out, harvesting grass blades, carrying a bunch of extra inventory, bringing it back. You can build your base and build different components of your base with that buggy. And so it's an awesome, great like first out the gate buggy. And then the second one, way less utility, but way more fierce, is the Orb Weaver. And that's one where you want to run around fast, you want to go murder a bunch of other insects throughout the course of the park. That's the go-to kind of at the end state of just the early access. And so buggies were really the big one. I think that is like the big distinguishing factor that's going to influence and all the rest of what distinguishes Grounded 2 from Grounded 1.
For you to describe what we're getting in game preview as Act 1, and you'll forgive the pun, it feels to me like this is massive, because what you're giving us, from what I can tell, and I'm not going to spoil anything, the world's already so big just by its very nature. It feels like the roadmap just must be huge.
Why are you saying it like that? I feel like both Chris and I took like a little bit of a gap. Like, don't remind us of what's to come. But
no, it's ambitious for sure. But when we were looking at like, what were we able to accomplish between the early access launch for Grounded compared to where it was at Grounded 1.0, and looking at, hey, what do we want to do with Grounded 2? This just sort of felt like what made sense. And in order to have that experience, like, we needed to release like what is about a third of the park to tell that first chunk of the story. And yeah, it's big. There's a lot there. But you know what? That's a lot for players to sink their teeth into. And I think that's a super cool thing for them. And even if you get in there and you play the game preview version, and you don't come back at 1.0, we think everybody will come back for 1.0 because it's going to be awesome, right? But like, or you follow us all the way through, like, I think there's enough there that you should be satisfied and excited and say that was a really great game and something I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think, there were two aspects of pressure that I think we always felt in terms of what we had to deliver with early access or game preview at launch. One of it was, we knew we'd be really compared to Grounded 1, and that had 5 years of development against it, right? So there's this complete experience where, so many people who've played through Grounded 1, they just have these expectations of like, this is how big the world should feel, this is the amount of features there should be. And so there was that little bit of pressure of like, well, we got to make sure we're not going to be Grounded 1.4.7 on day one. That's like, not the same space we would be in. But we do still need to deliver like a robust Act 1 that satisfies those players, both old and new. And then the other big area of pressure where over the last 5 years, early access games have really raised the bar. You have games like Hades 2 or Enshrouded or Power. These games, they're pretty massive. They have a lot of content. They're really well polished. And so, to make sure that people were delighted and we deliver on expectations, like that was the other piece that we were really cognizant of. And I don't want to belittle part either. That fortunately, we had a secret weapon, which is the baseline of Grounded 1 to build off of 2. So that helped a lot with us being able to like, hey, we have this great kind of foundation that gets us started. So that definitely it definitely helped kind of combat those pressures that we would felt with like, Grounded 1 and just the bar for early access in general.
So that begs the question then, how are you going to go about onboarding players into this Grounded universe? I mean, We talked prior to the interview. Grounded 1, I missed it, and I'm going back. I'll tell you that. But entering the world of Grounded 2, you guys had a clear vision for onboarding players. Can you talk about that process, please?
Well, I think so one of the things that we I think struggled with a little bit on Grounded 1, I think it's pretty good by 1.0, but struggled with it a little bit early on, was making a survival game that had these strong story elements, but was still accessible and understandable for players, that they could get in and they could just sort of grok like, hey, how do I do this stuff? How do I survive? How do I find water? How do I find food? And so one of the things that we just right out the gate on Grounded 2 were like, hey, how do we do a slightly better, maybe hopefully not slightly better, hopefully a lot better job of tutorializing the player and giving them just getting their feet wet in the world and giving them enough tools to sort of understand, how to get along, how to survive. And so, with that in mind, we did create a sort of what I would call a stronger in-world sort of custom tutorial area, which is actually an Ominant lab. Ominant is one of the big corporations in the game. Is the evil corporation. In the first game, they have apparently transformed themselves and are a much more altruistic corporation now. But you start out in one of their labs, and this gives us the opportunity to sort of help the player understand, hey, how do I move around this world? What are the things that I can do? How do I interact with things? And then progress them from there into some early Ominant training programs that teach them basic survivability in the park. And hopefully that stuff, along with the intro movie and story elements, are introducing players to the world of Grounded 2 in a way that is digestible, makes sense, and is also super cool. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That nail almost everything.
Yeah, you got it all. I don't need to add much more to that.
Yeah. I think people are going to be very impressed and surprised when they boot up Grounded 2, whether they've played the first or not, because I think you hit the nail on the head as far as bringing people into this world so well. And so that kind of brings me to another question and I'll piggyback this into 2. You have created a world and a system where players have so many options for how they experience your game, first person, third person, using their buggy, whatever it is they're doing. But I've noticed that Obsidian as a whole, not just the Grounded team, really works hard with accessibility, providing those options to players. We saw it in the first Grounded, then Avowed, Outer Worlds 2, this first to third person option, plus just so many accessibility options, colorblind mode, arachnophobia mode. I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about the importance of accessibility and the work that you guys have done, not only to make it so impressive, but also to improve it from previous games.
Yeah, I think one of the big pillars of all Obsidian games is player agency and player freedom. And I think to start with player freedom, you first have to make it accessible to people for people to want to explore and be free, right? Like, part of player freedom isn't just, do I give you choice and consequence, or do I give you reactivity? It's, do I give you the option to play in first person or third person? Do I give you the option to play like the way you kind of want to play? And so I think why we and almost think like it's not even like so much. Obviously, arachnophobia mode for Grounded was about like very intentional and thought through, but so many of the other aspects are like, hey, we want the player to be able to play the way they want to play, and by supporting those features, you indirectly kind of support that player agency. So they kind of just work really, really well together. Whether it is text scaling, because we have so much text in games like the Outer Worlds or Avowed, like, so that people who are hard of sight can still enjoy and play the way that they want to play, or colorblind mode like you talked about. So I really think that's a kind of like an unconscious kind of component of just, we want to give players agency, and part of that agency is is making games more accessible. And I think that just works really well together, and it complements what the types of games and the spirit of what we want to deliver really well.
It's certainly evident to me, because I entered into the world of Obsidian games far too late in my own gaming career with Avowed, and I've been going back, and it's just been a pleasure to see kind of that stuff happening on the back end. Now, I'm going to loop back because I have some Grounded 2 specific questions, because you guys talked a lot about mounts and buggies. And I'm curious, again, I won't spoil a thing, but I've become very attached to my mount. You have 2 available in this early access game preview. The world of Grounded 2 seems so vertical. Have you considered flying mounts as a possibility? Are there other things that you guys have in mind that you're toiling with that are down the line or perhaps soon?
So first question, I got to ask you a question back. I promise it's not to defer from your
No
first
problem.
one. But are you comfortable sharing what you named your buggy?
Okay, in my mind right now, he's Anthony, like straight out of MCU, and I'm a little embarrassed by it. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
but
we talk about this a lot, though. Your buggy name really does play a huge role into your emotional connection to your buggy. So there's certain times where I play and I name my buggy my best friend's name. There's other times that I play and I name my buggy Sacrificial Lamb. And you can imagine how I treat Sacrificial Lamb relative to my best friend. So anyway, I just was curious if your best friend, and I might have cut you off a little bit, but you were going to say something else about your buggy naming experience.
I purposely don't go with the best friend name because I've lost, again, I'm grounded as let's just put I'm not great at it. And so I've revived this bad boy several times, and I won't even lie, I reloaded a save.
That's all good. And just for folks to know, if you are playing on kind of the easiest difficulty or medium difficulty, your buggy does not die forever. It will be saved. But if you do want the extra challenge, you play on our hardest difficulty, which is woe. That's when buggy is kind of completely gone. But sorry, I went on a detour to go back to your question. We absolutely are thinking about adding more different types of buggies to the experience over time. Lots of people ask about flying buggies. I'll just get to this one straight up. If we can ever add a flying buggy, it would be way down the line, because as you can imagine, it changes the whole thing. Just like introducing buggies in general changes how you're going to lay out the map and how you're going to lay out areas. Flying buggies, depending on how we implement them, will break the whole game. So if we do it, it'll probably be a super end game, just like fantasy realization there. But we certainly have a long roadmap of each individual buggy. I don't know if you want to talk to how we think about when we bring each buggy in, what we would want out of them. Or
yeah, I mean, so
I've got a 4-minute warning, by the way, so I want to make sure I don't.
So you want to move on then, or is that
no? Bring the answer. I'm interested.
I'll go quickly though. So we were intentional with having the Red Ant Soldier and the Orb Weaver because they bring very different experiences, like Marcus was saying before, right? One's very much utility, one is very much murder machine, and that's great. And we wanted those to be in the game preview so that the community could play around with them and tell them tell us, hey, what's working, what's not working, what is the feature that you really want the most. Obviously, we have our own list, but we can compare that with what the community's saying, and we can sort of build our roadmap forward with that. And I think as we move forward with buggies, that same sort of intentionality has to be built into each one. We have ideas on ones that we would like to use, but each one needs to have its own specific purpose and its sort of thing that it does awesome in the world, so that when I'm adventuring in this new biome, I think to myself, man, what would be great is if I had this buggy with me, because it will help me tackle these challenges in this way. And that's very much the way that we want to look at this. We also, we envision a system where hopefully your buggies can sort of grow with you as well, right? We don't want them to be disposable, like you're saying. You love your buggy. We want people to be able to do that and have it, adventure with them, maybe throughout the game. So there's a lot of things that we want to do with buggies. We're super excited about them, but yes, for sure there will be more of them, and just super excited to work with the community on those.
All right, gentlemen, 2 questions left. The first, one for old hat fans and people to look forward to new things. Are you anticipating wildlife, maybe mammals or more than just birds, showing up in the world of Grounded 2? And if that's a spoiler, you don't have to answer it. Or is it more just going to be insects?
So we know that people love things like the bird and the koi fish. And with us moving to a park, that demands the need for us to, at some point, figure out ways to add creatures like that into the game. And so we know that we are super aware of it, and we hear the community on that, and that's all I'll say about that for now. But that hopefully helps give an indicator.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I appreciate that. The last question that I tend to ask developers in these interviews is an unfair question, but I think it's really enjoyable to hear the responses. You guys have the benefit and pressure of taking on a franchise that's sold, but going into game preview. My question is, are you happy with where you're at right now?
My answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember who we were talking to recently, but like what I would say is I'm cautiously optimistic. Right? Like I think that we've made something that's really cool. I think, and it's seeing your reaction is really exciting for me, because you never really know as a game maker until you put it in somebody's hands whether they're really going to like it or love it, or maybe they're going to hate it. Like you just don't know, and you can guess, and you can do play tests, and you could do whatever kinds of other things, but you never really know. And so I fear the worst, but I'm hoping for the best, and I think we're on the right path here, and I feel pretty good about everything that we've done. But yeah, I'm always going to be a little nervous about the whole thing.
I would say at the end of that, I would use a different word maybe, which is I'm proud of what we have have delivered. I think I'm proud of what the partnership we've had between Obsidian and IDOS, and what we've been able to do with the game, and I hope that the community and everyone involved, just who gets to play the game, enjoys that and maybe sees that pride. So I would say I'm proud, regardless of what happens.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I know that fans have plenty to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to their reception of Grounded 2 in early access, or game preview, I should say. This is a neat full circle moment for me, because long ago for Grounded 1, Adam Brennicky came on the show.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a pleasure to have had you, Mr. Marcus Morgan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Luke.
And Mr. Chris Parker, we appreciate you and your time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting me, and thank you for letting us share our love with the world. And we hope to see everyone just a few short days away on July 29th in game preview.
I think they're going to have a blast. All righty, guys, that's going to be it for us. Please go check out the game preview. It's absolutely fantastic. Take care.